Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and we are continuing our journey on the album Abominog. Wishing you guys a happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Maybe you did something fun. Maybe you're exhausted. Either way, I hope you're feeling great and enjoying your day as we start a whole new week. Of course, because it's Monday, we got a couple things to talk about. First of all, if you have not checked out the Everyday Rocks box set from BMG coming late September this year, 2021, go and check it out, folks. 7 picture discs, 7 t-shirts, a wall calendar, inspiring lyrics, and all kinds of great stuff coming at you very soon. Get your orders in now. It is available for pre-order. There is a link in the show notes. If you cannot find that link, go to my website, scotthaskin.com. Click on the Uriah Heep podcast link, and you will see it there towards the top. And just click on that link. It'll take you right to the pre-order site. I am very excited about this box set. It is so cool. I need some new shirts anyway, so why not have some great Uriah Heep shirts representing their first 7 albums? You know, I mean, that alone, let alone the picture discs, which I love picture discs. I'm a huge fan of those. I've owned many over the course of years. I don't have any right now, so I am very excited to get some back in my collection. So that is very exciting. Keep an eye out for that coming very soon. Get your orders in, folks. I don't know how many they're going to press, so it could be limited. I'm not sure. My suggestion is get your order in ASAP, or as Michael Scott would say, ASAP as possible. Kind of redundant. Also, guys, you can go to the website that I mentioned, scotthaskin.com, click on the Uriah Heep podcast link. Scroll down to the bottom, get on the mailing list. That gets you 1 entry into the monthly drawing where I give an album away every month. I will be doing this through the current studio album, Livin' the Dream. Once I've covered Livin' the Dream, I'll probably stop the contest at that point. So we've got a ways to go because I think we're looking at next March, if I'm not mistaken, and we're getting close to the end of July. So you got plenty of time. If you are a member of the Patreon for this show, you get extra 2 entries. So that would give you 3 total if you're on the mailing list and a Patreon. If you're just a patron, then you get 2. So sign up for the mailing list as well. Why not? You're giving yourself, an extra chance. So I would suggest doing it. That's just me. I don't get to win, but that's okay because I win being able to do this show, which means far more to me than getting a free album. But speaking of people that are on the Patreon, you guys have been just fantastic, making sure that I'm covering the monthly expenses. And I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Most of the people on this list have been here for quite a while. So I really appreciate it. But I also appreciate the newer folks. At the $5 Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. And Kenny Wymore, by the way, this episode is actually coming out in fairly real time because I do some of the other episodes ahead, but the Monday episodes I'm now doing just a couple days before they come out. So it's Saturday. This will come out in a couple days for me in real time. And I was just talking to Kenny Wymore, and he's found some really great deals on Heep vinyl albums. And he seems to be one of those people that's just really good at finding great deals. So congratulations, Kenny, on your purchases. For you guys that are out there looking, just keep at it. Used record stores are a great resource. I was telling Kenny that we used to have these shows in Detroit at the VFW halls, these just giant record shows where all these collectors would come in, and some albums would just be for show and other albums would be for sale. But there were a lot of bootlegs and rarities and things that you just could not get at the time. Of course, this was well before the internet was a thing. So we couldn't just, go on eBay or Google or whatever. We kind of depended on these record shows to find really rare things. Apart from that, we had like 1 or 2 music catalogs that we could choose from. I think one was Canadian and American, and I think the other one was European. So, by the time that we sent away for some of those albums, it might be months before we got them. It was a whole different world back then. But to find vinyl just kind of randomly You just got to go to different places, like, different Goodwill, Salvation Army. Sometimes people don't really know what they have and they don't care to research it. So sometimes you can get some pretty good deals there. But, if there's any, you're more likely at a used record store, but you're also probably going to pay a little more for it. But they're more likely to have it because I think most people these days are fairly savvy, the ones that aren't lazy, and they're at least going to look it up and get an idea of what it's worth, if it's something that's rare, if it's a rare pressing, because, people want money. And I can't blame them for that. Also, estate sales, too. You never know what you're going to find in an estate sale, but it's so hit and miss. I mean, there's really no guaranteed, here's a great place to go and you'll always find something good. It just doesn't work that way anymore. It's a shame, but that's how it is. So thank you guys. Also at the $3 The Wizard tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Teelgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, we have the place where it's hopeless if you're buried alive, Airtight Gravesite. Thank you all very much. What you do really means a lot to me. I know I say it every week, but it really does. Every time I see that that there's still this list of people on there that care enough about the show to want to contribute to it, that's just the best payback for me. But there's other people, too, that have contributed in their own way. Podbean is the host of the show. They're the ones that distribute it out to all the different podcast outlets. I just upload it. They do all the work from there. I'm sure it's all digital and seamless from their perspective, but they provide that for me so I don't have to do it. And I really appreciate that. My graphic artist, of course, Scott Lazinski, who did the amazing logos and the small circle logos that you see in places like Twitter. And then, of course, my friends at Audionamics, who I will not do a podcast without Audionamics' product, IDC or Instant Dialogue Cleaner. Even living next to the Vegas airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, it's got to be in like the top 10 or so, or at least the top 20. But in any case, I live right next to the airport. I hear planes landing and taking off all the time. More taking off than landing because they're using more power. They're louder when they're taking off. And they also happen to take off on this side of the airport, which is just awesome. But thanks to Instant Dialogue Cleaner, you guys don't have to hear it, which is amazing. Dave White, Uriah Heep's director of social media, is the one that posts the show, and he has just been fantastic. He's been a guest on the show. He's going to come back. We got more stuff to do. Dave, thank you so much for all the hard work that you do for me and for the band. And, of course, everyone who has shared, told people about the podcast, shared posts, anything to help get the word out there. It really does make a difference. We're getting close to 30,000 downloads, I think it is, which is pretty sweet, for me. I really like that, and I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Before we get into the episode, though, we have a few more people to thank. Of course, my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. Nate and John at the Deep Purple Podcast, my gateway drug into the Deep Dive Network. The Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered. Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. We have Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods. We have Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge. And Eric and Jonathan at Maiden A to Z Pod. All great shows. I actually like every single one of them. I don't just say that because they're part of the network. I actually genuinely enjoy each one of those shows. And of course, there is my buddy Brandon over at Metallicast, who is just a really cool guy, has a great show. And he's been a guest on this show too. You guys have heard him. If you listen to those episodes, you did anyway. And also my friend Allegra at gottahearemall.com. She does a great job with, interesting facts about bands like Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their touring life, some other tidbits. Great website to check out. Ace on Music. Ace is the band's manager, Uriah Heep's manager, as well as Thin Lizzy and several other bands. Really busy guy, but he still finds time to make his own show. You can find that on Stitcher and YouTube. The links are in the show notes. And of course, you can follow the Uriah Heep podcast at Facebook, facebook.com/Uriah Heep Podcast. Twitter, we are at Heep Podcast. Instagram, we are at Uriah Heep Podcast. And again, the email is uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com if you guys have any questions or want to write me. And that is it for all the thanks. Thank you guys for all the ratings and reviews. Haven't had any new ones in a while, but I appreciate all of you guys who have done that. That really means a lot. It helps the show get seen. I don't know how that works, but it does. So there's that. Now let's talk about the song. The song is called Chasing Shadows. It is an original song by the band, second one on the album. Here we go. Chasing Shadows by Uriah Heep. Wow, there is a lot going on here. Really like the blend of the different keyboard sounds. I know I've got a couple of them. I can't think of which instruments they're on, but I know I have a couple of those sounds. Really cool, though. A really nice blend. I like the blend not only volume-wise, but just the tonality. They sound really good together. I'm counting 3 different synth lines up into the point where the drums kick in, and then there's another one added. So a total of 4. Really cool stuff, though. I really like that. I wonder what that would sound like live. I know that there was a lot of programming going on, and, even thinking of like the Lost 80s live concerts I've been to where there's a singer and one guy on keyboard, yet there's a full band playing. So I know there was a lot of programming available at this time. And maybe that's how some of this stuff was done live. But just listening to this as, a song, not thinking about how it was done, I really love the blend of the synths. I think it's very cool. I think the drums and bass coming in there are very powerful. Just those, little notes that just really enhance the accents there. Very cool start. Well, there was a really interesting note at the very beginning of that sounded like a voice. I thought Peter Goalby was going to start singing there, but he didn't. That was a really nice little solo by Mick. I like when there's a little solo sometimes before the verse starts. It just kind of gives you a different approach into the song. I tend to feel more connected with a song if there's a little bit more personalization to it than just, here's the setup, here's the verse rhythm, or here's what the chorus is going to sound like. When there's a solo, it feels a little more personal to me. I kind of get into the emotion of the song a little bit more. So I like that, and I like what he played there. If you listen to what Mick is doing on guitar in the background there, it sounds like there's a vibrato on some of those parts. And I have to think that that's being done manually, not done with a pedal or anything. It sounds really good. But sometimes, those are the kind of little nuances that can really make the difference in a song. It's not necessarily always the riff or the chorus or the progression. Sometimes it's just those little subtle things that make us feel the song a different way. So I really like that he did that. I really like that part, but I think they're kind of missing something a little bit. I think that the crash cymbals are a little bit buried, and those are some really nice accents that bring out some power. And I feel the kick drum. I feel the increase of the power of the beat. It's not changing tempo. He's just adding more bass drums, quarter notes to, but I think they're missing out a little bit on the crash cymbals there. If they could have been panned a little bit more to make them a little more noticeable, maybe increase the volume just a skosh to make that sound come out a little bit more. But I like the feel of it overall. I think it could have been pushed just a little bit further in the mixing stage, but it's a nice transition. That was a really interesting drum fill. It felt kind of choppy. I had to go back and listen to it a couple of times to get used to it, but I see what he was going for now. But upon the first hearing, I was like, that really felt awkward. Just my taste. But I really like the chorus. I think that it's really strong. I love the use of the backing vocals there. Just very powerful. And again, you can kind of hear that cymbal cut through a little bit and give it even more power, which is something that works very well as far as the performance of it goes. Very cool choice. You know, it's really weird on this album, the way they keep letting a particular keyboard sound just overpower the vocals. I mean, you can still hear the vocals, but the keyboard is louder. And this one is panned more to the side. And that's why you can hear the vocals as well as you can, because they're not fighting for the same space. But I do find the volume of the keyboard to be a little bit loud in comparison to the vocals, which should really be the most featured thing when there's vocals. Very interesting choice. I really like what the backing vocals are doing during that first section. It's just so powerful. I like the fact that they're not just saying the title of the song, they're turning it into an oh kind of part. Definitely adds another layer of something interesting to the song. Takes away what you expect it to be, because you expect them to just say the two words and then stop and repeat them, but they actually turn it in another direction, give you just a little bit more there, which is really nice. That last part was very powerful. Really took it up a notch, I thought. This is a really nice keyboard solo. I think it's very fitting. I think it works really well for the song. But what I find even more interesting than that is the other sort of real synthy sounding keyboard. There's just a little bit that comes in the left ear, just that low end note, and then the rest of it is played in the right ear. I really love that contrast. I think that works really well. That kind of makes that part for me even more than the solo does. Okay, I'm going to stop it here because we have a lot going on, and this isn't really interrupting the solo because we're in a transitional part now. But I really like this. I had a hard time hearing what Mick was playing in the very beginning of it just because of the blend of the instruments. But I like that they panned him a little bit to the right to give a little clarity during the solo so that he stood out more. Who doesn't love a good guitar keyboard exchange when it's done well like this was? Really nice sound, really great solo. I really like that part. And I like the part that we're transitioning into now. This is really a nice change. There's been a lot of good changes in this song. Okay, I'm really glad we have this part here because right up to the very end of that, you could hear the drums increasing the way that they did before. You got more kick drums in there, but this time he's not hitting on the crashes until the very end. So if you go back and you take this part, you compare it to the other part, when we heard it towards the beginning of the song, this gives you that contrast of the difference that the cymbals actually make in the amount of power that this part has. And I think this still sounds good. We've got really more keyboards coming in, kind of compensating for the cymbals, but it doesn't have that just, punch in the chest that I would like to have. And I just think we're losing a little bit of the power that we had in the beginning because he's not on the crash cymbals until the end at this one. Just my opinion, but that's the way it feels. But take those chunks and go compare the two. It's really interesting the difference that makes. Well, that ended kind of abruptly. That could be the way that they cut the files when they exported it for this deluxe remaster. I have noticed that the cuts are kind of tight on this one, so it may have been a victim of a quick cut. I'm not sure, or just the way that it falls on the CD. Normally, you give it like a second or two in between tracks, ending and starting. You've got the fade out to nothing, then the couple seconds, then the next track. I don't think they did that on this one because they seem to cut very, very close together. But in any case, a lot going on at the end. Unfortunately, there was a lot going on at the end. With the mix being as it is, with everything being panned in the center, I couldn't really fully appreciate what Mick was doing on the guitar. I heard some really nice solo work creeping in and out here and there. But the fact is, everything with as many layers as there is going on at the end of this song, and it all being panned towards the center, you're really just getting a lot of mush. You're not really hearing everything that's going on with any kind of clarity. We'd love to hear a remix of this where everything was kind of panned and spaced out properly. But it's a good song. I love the performance. I love the writing of it. I think Peter sounds really good and strong, as he has on every song we've reviewed of his so far. I say that. I've recorded several other episodes already, so the middle of the week episodes. So I've actually gone through quite a bit of this album, and I can say that it's been very impressive listening to his voice. Again, not seeing a lot of range, but that's okay. He's good for this kind of music. Very straightforward, but very powerful. Some good inflections, and really kind of brings a lot out on a song in a different dynamic that we're used to hearing from a Uriah Heep singer. But I would say good song, a good way to start the week. It's a really powerful song. It's got a good grind to it. Got lots of changes. Lots of different parts. I really like that. This feels almost more like, the classic Uriah Heep, where you just don't know where the song is going to go. Really no way that you could fully predict it because they just take it in all kinds of directions. Some great work from John Sinclair on keyboards. Love Mick's rhythm and solo work on it. Bob Daisley's just keeping it right in the pocket with Lee Kerslake. Just a great song. It's got a great feel, a perfect tempo. I don't think that a faster or slower tempo would have served this song anymore. I think they really nailed it exactly where it needed to be. So that is the Monday show, folks. I hope that you guys have a great start to your week. We'll be back tomorrow with another show from the Abominog album. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days.